Welcome to the meeting. I'm supposed to sort of open the thing and maybe give a little historic perspective and inspiration to the occasion. And the reason perhaps that I might be able to do that is because of something I want to tell you. That Maine is actually the place in the world where the first and only vote to fully legalize cannabis for all purposes, that is to grow and possess it, up to 2 pounds a year, was taken in the state of Maine in 1992 in the town of Starks. And whether Proposition 19 had passed or failed, which unfortunately it didn't, that will still stand as a landmark vote, I think, in world history. I don't think there's ever actually been a legally recorded vote of a municipality, county, of any size, where the voters actually said, yes, we're going to allow our citizens access to this herb. So I think it's something we can all be proud of. I tell you, at the time of that vote in 1992, the idea that medical patients could be smoking, medicating in the back of a building in a town in Maine without instantly being raided and all being hauled off and handcuffed, that is an amazing thing that we are living in changing in wonderful times. That's a legal matter, and what we're dealing with here too are a lot of legal matters, and we're going to be discussing that today. It's like Hamlet, to register or not to register that right is the question. How are we going to protect our rights and be free to get them? And it's a real question, but that is a legal question. But a question I think that's even more important, and I think it's one we've faced, a lot of us, some of us for decades, is the prejudice, the discrimination, the social demonization within families and without families that occurs because of the wrong narrative that has been told for so many years, the false narrative about this plant and the people who are involved in it. One more note, this is just for you folks. Anybody in your family have cancer? How many people have heard of Rick Simpson? Rick, okay, all right. Well, I think they're almost the same people. What if they're not? If you have anybody in your family with cancer, just find out about Rick Simpson, find out about the hemp oil, which is really a possible and potential, thank you, I can see the nodding back there, really a well-demonstrated cure for cancer. So we're not just dealing with a palliative medication here. We are on the cutting edge of human knowledge, which potentially, and I think really includes a cure for cancer as well. So, very proud to be here. Thank you very much. And let's heal together as we make history together.
Thank you.
I'm Glenn Peterson. I am moderating. We have a wonderful group of people who will hopefully answer all of our questions. If you have questions, I will call on you. I'm going to let the panel introduce themselves, starting with Ron. Go ahead, Ron.
Hi, my name is Ron Fosick. I'm the founder of Green Relief MD. I'm a medical marijuana activist. I went for both runs in the dispensary operations here in Maine. Obviously, I lost, and I'm honored to be here today. I always think it's great when we throw these events and everybody shows up, and it's always a good time. Thank you, guys.
My name is Alysia Melnick. I'm the Public Policy Counsel for the Maine Civil Liberties Union. That's the Maine affiliate of the ACLU, the American Civil Liberties Union. We've been involved in the medical marijuana issue for at least a year and a half with last year's task force and bill and obviously the citizen referendum. We weren't involved in the referendum, but we're much more involved in the legislation. So I'm just here kind of semi-spontaneously, so I don't have the law in front of me and whatnot, but I'll do my best to answer questions about what we're doing as an organization. And I really am interested in hearing from you all, either now or later, in terms of hearing what issues you all are having with the current law or the current regulations and what other stuff is working well. So we know what our concerns are. Our concerns, top concerns, are patient privacy and confidentiality. So.
My name is John Thiele. I'm the program manager for the medical use of marijuana program in Maine, and I've been there for a couple of months. And I came down today because I liked what the gentleman who opened the meeting had to say about discussing a social narrative. And I think, hopefully we're going to be working together for a while. And I think part of the reason that communication is so helpful is because we come to understand each other. And, I was 17 in 1967, and I grew up in suburban New York. And I'm sure I know my ideas are a lot different than a lot of people in this room. But we also have a lot of, I think, ideas and philosophies that are very similar, too. And, basically what I want to do, I want to foster a working relationship with this group. And I'll try to answer your questions today. What I'm finding too is when Glenn sent me an email and he had 13 questions that, hopefully when I leave here today, you'll have my email address or you'll know how to get it. And if you have questions, the best thing to do is email me on them. And then there's this running record that will be, established and that we can build on too. So thanks for inviting me and thanks for having me.
Hi, my name is Igor Rakuz. I'm the owner and operator of Maine Indoor Garden Supply. I'm also a patient. I'd like to thank everyone who came today, and that's all you guys too. And hopefully we could have a good meeting here.
Can I ask if there are any questions from the audience?
And I've always answered that by saying, the main thing that I would be concerned with is that, it's not visible, that people, who are casually walking by your property, kids basically are going to see. So the main thing is, I think, has to be in an area that is not visible from the street, or someone who is just benignly walking across your property. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. How do you feel about a roof? Like a fence that is not roofed in, but that is visibly blocked from all sides?
I think that's great. And I'm assuming that when these laws are written so ambiguously that they're doing it for a reason. And I think, things will evolve. But I realize that we're working in the real world now, and you want to, you want to make sure you're not breaking the law. But I would say that, as long a fence would certainly suffice, but you also have to take into consideration the visibility of it. Yeah. The intent, again, I would say the intent of the regulations is that, there's not this collective action going on. Why is that?
Yeah.
Because I think the department is afraid, well, first of all, and I'm not saying this is good or this is bad, but there was a decision, and you people all here I think know much more than me, because until I took this job, I wasn't paying that much attention to this, and because I felt I didn't have a dog that ran in this race, to tell you the truth. And, but there is, the state of Maine is interested in seeing a dispensary system develop. And I think they see this as a way of not helping, but of making sure that the dispensary system does get a chance to develop. And that if caretakers get too collectivized, then why would anybody want to get into the dispensary?
So to make it safe for business.
Not
Wait,
to make it safe
come on.
for.
Don't blurt
for,
stuff out.
And here I'm, this is, like I said, I want to develop some type of rapport and some type of communication. So I do take a little umbrage if I feel that people are being sarcastic to me. You can have 6 female plants, and in the regulations, the female plants are said they have to be. A female plant has to be 1 foot high, 1 foot wide, at least 1 foot high, at least 1 foot wide, and be budding. And there's no, there's no explanation as to what budding is.
Because you don't grow pot.
Well, I have, but I was not a connoisseur. I did it for a couple of summers when I was being treated with, when I was on chemotherapy. Yeah. I'm not an expert on that, and if it had buds, I picked the buds. I didn't wait, a certain.
They
number of
weren't like
weeks.
just a few hairs, they were actually completed buds.
Yeah. Yesterday was Friday. A caregiver came into my office because somebody had stolen his plants. And then they had gotten busted, and they told the police where they had gotten the plants. So the police went to the caregiver's place. And this is like highlighting why you should be very careful where you grow your plants. But also what you're talking about here, I think a lot of things is law enforcement. And I know it's up to Health and Human Services, I think, to make sure that the ambiguity is taken out of the regs when they can do it. But we also have no control over law enforcement. Like I've said to law enforcement a lot of times, why are you even bothering arresting people before January 1st? Because we have no records. We don't know, I don't know who's walking around out there with a letter from their doctor saying they can smoke marijuana. And so they call up and they try to get information from us. Do you know this person, this person? And, and we can talk about that part later, but, I always come back with, why don't you just let things be until January 1st? Because there's this thing out there, the affirmative defense, which I'm sure you're all as familiar with as I am. Why are you wasting people's time doing this? So, believe me, I understand that we should start making things clear. But I won't have those answers today. And, what I hear from you, I will take back to the office, to the people who really do make the decisions.
Doctor, is that
Well,
okay?
all right, so you're a caregiver. You mean, the patient's got to fill out an application anyways. So we have the information on the patient. On that application, the patient names who their caregiver is. So that's how we're able to tie you in. And then the patient will get a registration card. And you, the caregiver, will get a card too, so that, you're identified as the caregiver for this patient. Our relationship with the police as of January 1st will be, and this will be it, we will have a 24-hour phone line that they call and they give the ID number on the card, and they will be able to find out if that card is active or if it has been canceled. That's it. This whole thing went on when it was going on for years and years and years, right? I mean, the first referendum passed 10 years ago, right? So this was all aired before, right?
The legislation provides for civil action against anyone who violates confidentiality with up to a $1,000 fine.
Yeah, this is the August 4th ones that take effect January 1st. Right.
So that's the
This is what we're
official bad
talking
boy.
about. This is what I'm
Yes, you
talking
can
about.
give it to another
Yeah.
patient or not
A process for me would be marijuana that's ready to smoke.
fully dry.
Yeah.
So that-
If law enforcement is showing up at your door, I would say that they're going to do whatever they want to do. Irregardless of what the Health and Human Services said, or maybe not. Maybe their intent, but it would be law enforcement that's making that decision.